Speak on the show 2022, episode 21, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific is what we do here every Saturday morning. Y'all ready? Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Speak on it with your boy R.W. Coolins. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing out there this morning, early Saturday morning? Trent Branch, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate the support, my brother. Ethan Johnson, long time no hear, brother. Good to hearing from you this morning. Appreciate you. April Whedon, what's going? Good morning, sis. Good morning. Appreciate you. Truly appreciate you. I couldn't get that out. Yes. Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. That's what we do here every Saturday morning on the Speak on the Show, rwcoolins.com. That's all the social media. That's the website, social media platform, RW Coolins, over all social media platforms. Go, share, like, do what you do over all social media platforms. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube this morning. So if you want to, go back and listen after the fact, all the shows on Facebook, all the shows on YouTube. On Facebook is the RW Coolins page. And on YouTube, RW Coolins. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. All right. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask is say what you mean what you say. We come in as friends, we leave as family. That's what we here do. That's what we do here on the Speak on this show. You come in one time. If you make a comment, you want to be a part of the family, come on in. We accept everybody, no matter what your background, what you do. You agree to disagree. That's what we do here. We're here to have a conversation and talk about the things going on in the world that affect us each and every day. OT, what's going on, my brother? Got my turkey bacon. Good morning, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, I got to get my breakfast in the morning. I'm drinking some Celsius this morning. Try to get that energy boost. Maurice Bigfall, good morning, bro. Good morning. Appreciate the support. Keep healing, bro. Keep healing. Don't be rushing back doing things that you ain't supposed to be doing while you're in this healing process. Just a little tidbit for you, bro. Pace yourself. 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. Say what you mean what you say. That's what we do here on the Speak on this show. Man, I appreciate everybody. Let me just put this out here right now, because I know y'all are going to ask the question. The show will not be airing for the next 2 Saturdays. It'll be next Saturday out there. I got a commitment that I've got to attend to, so I'll be off the air. I'm thinking it's going to depend on time, so y'all bear with me. I'm thinking about trying to pre-record one for next Saturday, but it's going to depend on how my schedule works out. So y'all bear with me, work with me, and see what we can do with that. But if in best case scenario, let's go best case scenario rather than pre-recorded, I may do one next Friday evening. Don't y'all hold me to that. I'll send something out if I'm going to do it, but we won't be on consistently for the next 2 Saturdays because I got a prior commitment that I have to attend, and I won't have access to the computer and all that kind of stuff. So y'all be here with me. It'll work itself out. Y'all know y'all gonna miss me. I'm gonna miss y'all too, but it'll all work out. I'm Brian Hoodie. Good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate the support. It's an unscripted Saturday, y'all. It's an unscripted Saturday. I'm gonna start off with this because it's something that didn't sit well with my soul that I seen this week. I seen this interview, and I don't like to talk about this individual because everything he talks about and everything he does goes against anything that looks like us, and he looks like us per se. There's this, I don't even know what to call him, media member named Jason Whitlock. He's a sports commentary. Used to be on ESPN at one time. Then he was with FS1, Fox Sports, or whatever. Now he's on this Outkick or something. He did his own thing, at one time. Well, he was on Outkick that he went to on his own. Now he's with Blaze, Blaze TV. And I just happened to stumble across this interview he was doing, and I can't remember the female's name that he was interviewing with. But they got in this conversation about Leslie Jones. And if you don't know Leslie Jones is a comedian that was on Saturday Night Live at one time. A lot of times she has gotten overlooked. I'm just going to put it this way, overlooked as far as what her comedic influence is, how funny she is, and who she is as an individual because of her looks. A lot of people have an opinion about her looks and how she carries herself and everything. I think she's very funny. I don't, for me, looks is not everything. Her personality, her the way she does her comedy and everything, I truly appreciate. But anyway, Jason Whitlock and this young lady, I can't remember her name, as I said, on this conversation, they started talking about Leslie Jones and her comments towards, and I can't even get all the gist of it, but I'm just going to get here. Whatever they were talking about that dealt with Leslie Jones went from what she had made a comment about to talking about her looks. One of them, and I can't remember which one, I think it was the female, said she looked like an ape. This narrative of what they chose to minimize her to by going away from what her comment was about to referring to her looks, saying she looked like an ape and all these things, which is, as we all know, being called an ape or being said something to look like an ape has been something that has gone on in this country for years and years and years, as far as trying to minimize who we are as a people in this country and around the world. Let's just be real. But to have two, and I'm going to call them African Americans, Black people, to sit on a big media platform and to call this woman out of her name, call her an ape with no regard for how it will be taken, no regard for the fact of who she is as a person, because they probably don't even know her. Let's just be real. But for them to sit on that platform and to say this woman looks like an ape and all the other negative things that they said about her really made me sit back and think for a minute about all the things that have gone on over probably the last year or so in our community. And I'm going to talk about our community for a minute. When you see these so-called beefs amongst comedians, you can go as far as DL and Monique, Kevin Hart and Cat Williams and Tiffany Haddish and the so-called beefs. Then you can get into the rap game, the music industry, where these people don't see eye to eye, Eminem and Kanye and all the things I'm talking about. You and your friends, people that may have a beef with me. And I sit back sometimes and I always ask this question when I see this. Why is it that within our community, in the sports world, the entertainment industry, so on and so forth, these so-called beefs, which I like to call misunderstanding of thoughts, these misunderstanding of thoughts or opinions tend to be gravitated more highly and taken to the full extent to show the discourse amongst us as a people. Now, we ain't always going to see eye to eye. I don't have a problem with that. We're not always going to see eye to eye. But come on. When we get to the point of calling each other names or we want to do bodily harm or we're shooting at each other and all this, that's where, for me, it doesn't sit well with me. So I would tell everybody out there that's listening today, but I know I'm dragging this along a little bit, but step back for a minute. When someone doesn't agree with your opinion or you don't agree with somebody else's opinion, and when you try to react or you choose to react, stick to the process and what you were talking about from the beginning. When you get into these personal attacks, it just shows the fact that you don't have the knowledge or the understanding to be able to have an honest conversation about what the topic was initially about when you resort to personal attacks. Just me. Take it for what it's worth. But when you resort to personal attacks, that just tells me that you don't have the wherewithal, the knowledge, or the understanding of the topic or the conversation you were having in order to continue on that path rather than going left or right to attack somebody for their looks or anything that's more personal than what the situation and the conversation started out as. Just me. Jack Pennington. Good morning, bro. Good morning. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well out there in Virginia. Faye Jackson. Good morning, my brother from another mother. Even though I'm taller. Well, you know, taller in height, but I'm taller in personality. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Not a personal attack, but I'm just saying. Just saying. Appreciate you, bro. Facts. Yeah, you know, this is one of the things that I sit back sometimes and we, you know, because a lot of the conversation today is gonna deal with politics. But it was something that just didn't sit well with me because I think sometimes we get caught up in not understanding what the conversation is about and where the disagreement may be. And when we get to that point, you have some people that tend to gravitate to more of a personal attack rather than a factual conversation. And I think sometimes that when we see these athletes like Charles Barkley going at it with KD and, you know, about his game and Stephen A. Smith, where he's attacking people and all these different things that go on in the media with, and I'm just talking about our people now. I'm just going to be real because I recognize it. Now there's other nationalities, they have it in their communities as well. But what I'm saying is, good morning, Lady Michelle. Appreciate the support. John Chaney, appreciate the support, my brother. Appreciate the support, King. But what I'm saying is, when you sit back sometimes and you ask yourself, what image, and I don't want nobody to take this the wrong way, but you have to put it out there in this way. When we had these conversations and we decide that we're going to go back and forth and the media gets involved or whoever, and even when you're talking amongst yourself and arguing amongst yourself, what image are you trying to portray? And when I say what image are you trying to portray, I don't want everybody to jump down my throat and say we shouldn't care what people think about us and everything. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying when I say what image are you trying to portray is, what do you want to be recognized as? What do you want to be recognized as? Someone who does personal attacks when you can't get your point across, or someone who can have an intelligent conversation, come to a happy medium where we may not always agree, but we can walk away with the agreement that we agree to disagree and still leave without their personal attacks coming in. That's all I'm saying. I get upset when I see these things happen. I've seen it. Roland Martin, when he does his show, sometimes he does personal attacks on some people that come on the show. Those type things, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Y'all chime in if you want, but I don't think the personal attacks, when you have an opinion about something, the personal attacks eliminates everything the conversation was truly about from the beginning. Jack Penny, Tappahannock had a huge fire and burned down town block. Woo. Sorry to hear that, man. Hope you're safe down there. Hope it didn't affect your home. All right. All right, let's get into this week. 10-year-old young lady, 10-year-old young lady, 10-year-old girl, had to travel from her home in Ohio to Indiana to receive an abortion after being raped. And it became national news. This is one of those situations that I was talking about when we came into this overturn of the Roe versus Wade. 10-year-old young lady raped twice. Now that we found out he raped her twice after they arrested him. But this 10-year-old young lady had to leave Ohio because of the abortion ban laws and go to Indiana to have the abortion done. There's comments about she should have carried it full term. You know, I want you to think back to when you were 10 years old. I'm just going to do a little exercise here. Think back to when you were 10 years old and what you thought about life at 10 years old. And then I want you to switch that and think about being a parent, having a child at 10 years old. Not because you chose to, but because you were raped at 10 years old. And then let me know how you feel when they talk about this Roe versus Wade overturning, that there is no stipulations for certain situations in certain cases where abortion should be put into the conversation. 10 years old. 10 years old. The child was nearly 6.5 weeks pregnant. She could not legally receive an abortion in Ohio due to the state's fetal heartbeat law, which went into effect after the court abolished the constitutional right to an abortion. Her doctor phoned Indianapolis physician Dr. Caitlin Bernard, who agreed to perform the procedure. Bernard went public with the story in the Indianapolis Star. The response from both sides of the abortion debate has been uncompromising. For advocates of abortion rights, including President Biden, the girl was an example of how new abortion restrictions were already harming the most vulnerable people. But abortion opponents have doubled down. Jim Bopp, an Indiana lawyer and general counsel for the National Right to Life, believes the girl should have carried the child to term. And this is what he said. She would have had the baby, and as many women who have had babies as a result of rape, we would hope that she would understand the reason and ultimately the benefit of having the child. This is what he told Politico. He also said, we don't think, as heart-wrenching as those circumstances are, we don't think we should devalue the life of the baby because of the sins of the father. Let me repeat that part right there, because that's something I want to key in on. We don't think, as heart-wrenching as those circumstances are, we don't think we should devalue the life of the baby because of the sins of the father. Now, in that statement alone, we've talked about the unborn child and we've talked about the father. But in that statement alone, there has been nothing that concentrates on the person carrying the child. This is where the disconnect comes in. We're going to concentrate on more of the sins of the father to bring that into play. The unborn child we're going to talk about, but there's no focus on the young lady, the 10-year-old child. And I say 10-year-old child. Trent Branch, total disregard for the child. The 10-year-old child. I got you. Total disregard. And see, this is where the disconnect comes in for me. We want to talk about the full aspect of it, but we're not concentrating on the main thing. Because I'm going to say this, and I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a mental health person, but let's just break it down from my view. 10 years old, the trauma from rape already, the trauma of having to carry a child at 10 years old when you don't even know what your body is capable of doing, that you're being forced to do. 2 traumas. The trauma of every time you look at that child that you didn't plan to have, you have to look at that child growing up to know that that child was born from someone who chose to take advantage of you and is serving time in jail because of what they did to you. But you're being sentenced by having to carry this child full term and having to raise this child because of something that you didn't choose to do or be a part of. You were taken advantage of. When we talk about these things with the Roe versus Wade and the overturning, I'm not telling people, and I'll put it this way. I look at it in the matter of people need to have the right to choose. We can't sit back and act like if you have a right to choose to carry a gun by the Second Amendment, which they want to put on a pedestal each time, the right to freedom of speech, which I do every Saturday morning on this show. But the woman doesn't have a right to choose whether she wants to carry a child to term or terminate the pregnancy. For the simple fact of what we want to do is call it, you're eliminating life. I get that. But you're also eliminating life when you allow these people to carry weapons around these streets who shouldn't have weapons in their hands. But we'll fight strongly for that, for the Second Amendment, because there's nothing in the Constitution that addresses the abortion issue. That's why Roe versus Wade was overturned. We have an election coming up, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later on, but I'm going to touch on it right now. We got an election coming up, midterms. Midterm elections coming up in November, which is going to sway or could alter the House and the Senate as far as who's in charge of the House and the Senate. Right now, there's an even split in the Senate, 50-50. The overruling of that is when the vice president has to come in and vote, depending on what they're voting on. There's no filibuster. They want to get rid of that. They keep going back and forth. But there's a lot of things that haven't passed in there because of the 50-50 split. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm just telling you to be cognizant of what's going on. Pay more attention to what's happening. You got people. I'm going to bring him up because I keep reading articles about him and I try not to talk about him too much. But in Georgia, you got Herschel Walker running for Senate to take the seat of Raphael Warnock. If you've paid attention to anything that's dealing with the race in Georgia, you know, as well as I know, Herschel Walker is not fit to be in the United States Senate. That's just my opinion. You take it for what it's worth. Listen to the conversations. Listen to what he talks about. And it will give you clear-cut evidence that them trying to promote him to be a U.S. Senate has nothing to do with his abilities. It has all to do with the power of what they'll get if he gets the seat. They're banking on him taking the Georgia seat to give them more power within it. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. No, he's not at all. No, he's not qualified. I'll go out on a limb, and I'm not the brightest light bulb in the socket, but like I tell you, I'll flicker every once in a while. I think I'm more qualified to sit on the Senate than Herschel Walker. I put it out there. I said it. I said it. And the reason why I say that is because I'm willing to listen to both sides and make a decision, not just be hell-bent that this way or no way. In November, when these elections come around, I'm going to say it and I'm going to keep saying it. We need to make sure that we are voting our conscience, voting not just because it says Democrat or Republican, but voting for the people who we know are there to do the will of the people, not because it's going to sway who has the power in the Senate and Congress. Now, mind you, this election, this midterm election could alter many things that affect us on a daily basis. That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you go Democrat, I'm not telling you go Republican, but what I will tell you is you better pay attention. There's a lot of things. You think Roe versus Wade in the Supreme Court was something. I'm getting into that a little later, so I'm going to hold off on that. Cherie Joseph, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate support. Appreciate support. Jack Pennington, have a blessed day. You need to go do farm chores. Enjoy listening to you. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Don't let them cows get a hold of you out there, them pigs or whatever you got out there in that farm. All right. So also, when we talk about this abortion issue up in Ohio, Columbus Police Department was informed about the child's pregnancy on June 22nd after the Franklin County Children's Services filed a complaint. And the only reason this became national news because Joe Biden brought this case up when he was signing his executive order about abortion on the front lawn of the White House. And then you had Republicans that said he was a liar because they didn't know anything about what happened in Ohio. Why this young lady with this 10-year-old, they said Joe Biden was lying. There was no case of this. Tim Jordan put out a tweet that, retweeted a tweet saying that Joe Biden was lying and everything. And now he had to take it down. And then they asked him if he should apologize for putting the quote out there and everything. He said, no, I put the quote out there because Joe Biden lies all the time. So I wanted to put it out there in the media, this, that, or whatever. Everything's blamed on the media. But at the end of the day, the Republicans went back and first they tried to blame Joe Biden. They said he was lying. Now that the facts have come out and the person's been arrested and he's looking to face a life in jail and all this kind of stuff, now they're going after the doctor that did the abortion. Now they're going after the family for taking her across state lines. And now they want to go after, the actual person who performed, the doctor who performed the procedure, had to go out and get their lawyer put a cease and desist order against one of the attorney general of Indiana for the information he was putting out about the doctor, saying the doctor didn't do the abortion right. He didn't have the records. He didn't do this. He did all these different things you can come up with. So now it's flipped from in no way has any conversation about what happened with this 10-year-old young lady been concentrated on the 10-year-old young lady. No part of these conversations have concentrated on this 10-year-old young lady being raped, being pregnant, having to go through an abortion. Their main concentration is on who, what, when, where, and why, but nothing with the young lady. This is where my problem comes in. It's all about the political aspect and trying to cater to who believes what they believe. Trim Branch, we don't vote during midterm elections and barely vote during presidential elections. We as a people, yes, we as a people, and that's why I keep harping on it. We have to we have to get to a point where we understand that every election that comes around, we need to be. I don't care, and I'm gonna say that I don't care if the election is at your homeowners association if you have one. Elections matter because I'm not gonna get into what I had to go through, but there's certain things to deal with the homeowners association that if you ain't involved, I'm laughing because something that small where people are elected into positions, they take it as a show of power and they impose their will the way they want rather than for the mass. They have their vision of what they want, and that's what they concentrate on. And that's why I continue to say elections matter, midterms matter, presidential elections matter, homeowners associations elections matter, school board elections matter. All these elections matter because you don't know who you're putting in there if you don't read their background, if you don't pay attention, if you don't do your research. And we've gotten so comfortable as time has gone on to just check a box because they're Democrat or check a box because they're Republican without looking at the big picture of what their mindset is, what their background is. And then they understand that why are they running for the position that they're running for. Sometimes that power hungry person is running for their own reasons, not nothing to do with you or anybody else. It's because they want the power to control what they can control. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And this is where I try not to get on a soapbox about this, but I always put it this way. And I'm guilty. I'm just put this out there. You know, these primaries that just came up, I forgot. No excuse. But you know, with my logistics and what I do weekly and everything like that, I forgot. More than enough opportunity to do it, but I forgot. And I kicked myself in the butt every day for that. Because I'm sitting here telling you guys what to do and I didn't do mine. Excuse me. And I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong and when I didn't do what I'm supposed to do. Y'all excuse me for that. But we got to get out there and we got to do our due diligence. We have to pay attention to what's going on. So let's go on transition this. So January 6th analysis committee. January 6th committee, I'm going to do an analysis. Right now, you know, there's a lot of evidence that has come out about this, what happened on January 6th. A lot of things going on, a lot of people trying to deny this, deny that. And I'm going to tell you one thing that didn't sit well with me this week is when they had the former oath keeper sitting up there testifying. And I understand, don't get me wrong, him and the guy that actually stormed the Capitol. I understand the testimony they wanted from them as far as to get the understanding and the mindset of these two people that decided to go and storm the Capitol today. I'm good with that. But what I'm not good with is the fact that now that they've come out and spoken, now that they've come forward to tell you what the Oath Keeper's about and what they're trying to do and what they were trying to do that day and why they went in the Capitol and what the mindset is of these organizations, we can't look at these people like they're some type of hero. I'm sorry. You can't look at these people like they're some type of, because they chose to speak up now. If they wanted to be a hero, they'd have spoke up before the fact. This guy that was in the Oath Keepers, the problem I have with him is he was in there for many years. And because him and the leader started to have a disagreement, he decided to get out. Now, I understand we all are a part of something that other people may not understand. I'm cool with that. But when you're a part of something that deals with racism, nationalism, you know, trying to impose your will on the people because they don't look like you and so on and so forth, overthrow a government and everything, I have to pause for a minute. Because there's one thing to make a mistake and be a part of something and then not agree with it and move out of it, say the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis, or something like that. Just throwing it out there. But when you're a part of something in this country where you're trying to prevent, let me say it this way, when you're trying to prevent other people from being able to practice the same freedoms that you have, I have a problem. Because now that you want to flip, and don't get me wrong, I understand people change. I understand people change. Time changes people. People start seeing the error, the ways they change. I'm cool with that. But when you were a part of something that could take the lives of people, not because of something they did, just because of who they are, what they look like, where they live, and your thought that you are more superior than them because of what your skin tone is, I got a problem with that. I don't care how much you change. To me, I'm always going to see you in that light because as soon as you changed over, you can change back, depending on the situation. Just me. I'll take it for what it's worth. But the one that stormed the Capitol, that sat up there and said, well, now I'm looking at it. Then afterwards, he went and apologized to the police officers. And the one police officer, and a lot of people had a problem with this. The one police officer who was, that big brother, I can't remember his name. He didn't accept the apology. He said, I heard his apology, but he never said he accepted the apology. A lot of people were upset because they felt that he should have put an olive branch out there. But at the end of the day, why should he have to accept something that this person knew was wrong before he did it? See, sometimes we get caught up in what we expect people to receive. But when you're in that situation, would you receive it? I ain't mad at him. I ain't mad at him. Personally, I may not have even acknowledged him. That's just me, though. That's just me. Because you put my life in danger. I've seen other people that I work with every day being beaten by people that were with you. I seen no disregard for my life at the time when you chose to do what you chose to do, and now you want to come and apologize after the fact. As I say sometimes, a lot of people don't agree with it. Who was the apology for, you or me? A lot of times people will tell you the apology is for the person that's apologizing. That's cool, but I don't need to receive it. Now, some people would take that, yeah, but every situation is different. Don't say what you will do until you have to do it. Don't say what you will do until you have to do it. So this week as well, former President Trump, is trying to separate himself from the supporters who stormed the Capitol. Former President Donald Trump attempted to put distance between himself and the January 6th U.S. Capitol attack in an interview this week with the New York Magazine. He also tried to separate himself entirely from those who perpetrated the attack in what feels like the last step of the sixth. That was something else. While the January 6th House Select Committee has spent recent weeks laying out his case that Trump inspired, if not directed, the attack, Trump said the actions of his MAGA rioters were their own. Now, I want you to listen to that oxymoron in there. Trump said the actions of his MAGA rioters were their own. So you label them as your MAGA rioters, but their actions were their own. During a conversation with journalist Olivia Nuzzi, Trump actually disputed the fact that many who entered the building after he addressed them that morning were even there on his behalf. And Nuzzi wrote this: when I asked if the insurrection had embarrassed him, he disputed the premise that it was committed on his behalf. Let's repeat that sentence one time. When I asked if the insurrection had embarrassed him, he disputed the premise that it was committed on his behalf. This is what he said. They did it on their own behalf, he said. He disputed, too, that the insurrectionists were armed. I don't think one person in the Capitol had a weapon. Not one weapon, he said. Nuzzi said Trump disagreed with her after she categorized the riot as a swarm of MAGA hats that stormed the building during the certification of the 2020 election results. And he said, and other hats, not just MAGA hats, and other hats, and other hats, not just MAGA hats, other hats. There were a lot of people there that a lot of other people don't want to talk about, but they're also one of the largest. Now, this is where that narcissism comes in, because I want you to listen to this real quick. There were a lot of people there that a lot of other people don't want to talk about. Watch this now. But they're also one of the largest crowds I've ever spoken to when I made the speech. Peacefully. It should be known as peacefully and patriotically. But when I made the speech, it was one of the largest crowds I've ever spoken to. This man wants to highlight the fact of how many people attended his speech rather than what was going on and what he incited during his speech and after his speech. You had all those people to go and try to overthrow the government. His main focus is on how many people he spoke to during his speech at that time. Trump branch, Trump rallied the rioters, his people. Exactly, his people. His people. It's the optics. There it is. Thank you, bro. It's the optics. It's all about what he wants people to see. He's not worried about the welfare of those people. If you show up for one of his rallies, all he's concerned about is the number. He wants to know how many people. Let's just be real. Let's just break this down. One of the largest marches on Washington, D.C. ever, and I think to this day is still the largest, was when Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did his speech at the Lincoln Memorial. I think that's the largest attendance ever. Million Man March might be close behind, but I think that's the largest one. Somebody correct me if not, because I don't have the numbers in front of me. Knowing what I know, what I've heard, what I read about Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, there is no way that he's going to allow someone that looks like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King to have more people in attendance of a speech than him. Let's just be honest about it. If there's any way that he can manipulate the numbers to show that he had more people at one of his speeches or one of his events more than either Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or President Barack Obama at his inauguration, he's going to push for it. He's going to push for it because there's no way that he can sleep at night knowing that two men of color had more people attend the speech that they gave than the speech that he gave. I'm just calling it what it is. You get mad if you want. I'm going to call it what it is. Just call it what it is. Trump branch, just like he lies about his inauguration, how many people attended, didn't come close to Obama's, but tried to compare his as have more attendees. And all that blank space out there. They actually Photoshop people in there to try to make it look like people were there. Come on, man. Come on. I was in D.C. a long time. I've seen a lot of events in D.C. Some get a lot, some don't get too many. Depending on the weather. Depending on the weather. Let's just be real. But now we got to go into this coup attempts. Y'all remember what's his name? Bolton. John Bolton, who was a national security advisor for Trump from 2018 to 2019. And they're trying to get clarity on this because they're saying that what Donald Trump did wasn't a coup attempt. Listen to what I say now. They say it wasn't a coup attempt. And this is John Bolton, who served in many different administrations. But this is what he said. A prime example of the new clarity is a shocking set of comments from John Bolton, Trump's national security advisor from 2018 to 2019, that aired on CNN on Tuesday. Speaking after the 7th House January 6th committee hearing, Bolton weighed in on why he thought, watch this now, Trump's attempt to overturn the election results and incite an insurrection didn't constitute a coup, by proudly admitting he had worked on orchestrating some himself. He's saying that what they did was not a coup attempt because he's an expert, because he's worked on them himself, and that what they were doing was not a coup attempt. Watch this now. Bolton's remarks were not only a startling confession that unraveled the Trump administration's earlier claims that it had never attempted a coup in Venezuela, they were also substantively wrong in the way they revived the dangerous idea that Trump's unseriousness as a person made his actions any less grave and consequential. See, this is what I'm talking about. When they get up here and they start talking, sometimes you just got to listen. This man, who was a national security advisor for Trump from 2018 to 2019, during a time when they tried to do a coup attempt in Venezuela and they denied it the whole time, had just let you know that they did try a coup attempt in Venezuela between 2018 and 2019, as much as they tried to deny it, because he's saying to you, the coup attempts that he's planned and been a part of were nothing like what was done on January 6th here in this country. Let me continue. Here's how the exchange went with Jake Tapper on CNN. Michael Bolton, Michael Bolton, that's the singer. John Bolton. While nothing Donald Trump did after the election in connection with the lie about the election fraud, none of it is defensible. None of it is defensible. It's also a mistake, as some people have said, including on the committee, the commentators, that somehow this was a carefully planned coup d'etat aimed at the Constitution. That's not the way Donald Trump does things. It's rambling from one half-vast idea to another, one plan that falls through and another comes up. It's not an attack on our democracy. It's Donald Trump looking out for Donald Trump. It's a once in a lifetime occurrence. Jake Tapper came back. I don't know that I agree with you. To be fair, with all due respect, one doesn't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup. John Bolton came back and he said this. I disagree with that. As somebody who has helped plan coup d'etats, not here, but other places. Notice he made it a point to say, not here, but other places. It takes a lot of work. And that's not what he did. It was just stumbling around from one idea to another. Then it goes on to say maybe Bolton was thinking of his role in covering up the Reagan administration's illegal support for Nicaraguan Contra death squads in the 1980s. Maybe he was musing about his more direct role in the 2003 invasion of Iraq, which while not a coup precisely, did include the overthrow, arrest, and execution of Saddam Hussein. Perhaps he was thinking about his activities in the successful coup against Haitian President Jean Bertrand Aristide in 2004, when, as Undersecretary for Arms Control in the Senate Department, he allegedly supplied guns and ammunition to the putschist police force. Or maybe it was some other overthrow, successful or otherwise, that we don't even know the U.S. was involved in yet. So this man, John Bolton, sat on national TV and admitted that the United States has been involved in coup attempts around the world. This is just him. He's admitting to what he's been a part of and what he knows it takes to do a coup attempt on another country. But he's saying what Donald Trump did was not a coup attempt because it was poorly planned. Yeah, come on. I know y'all got to be looking at me crazy when I'm reading this stuff. Then it says, but just his implicit admission that he saw Venezuela as a failed coup attempt is an interesting reveal. As Katz noted, in 2019, Bolton adamantly denied characterizing the Trump administration's recognition of Venezuela opposition politician Juan Guaido as president and encouragement of the military to turn on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro as a coup. So what they did in Venezuela, they try to deny. Just like they're trying to deny what happened on January 6th. And we're okay with this? Trent Branch, exactly. He's such a narcissist. He only cares about his power and doesn't care how he attains it. Does not care about the process. This man sat on national TV. He was an advisor, national security advisor. And he just admitted on national TV that he's been involved in coup attempts in other countries, as well as what went on that they denied that happened in Venezuela. And nobody has a problem with this. I don't write this, I just report it. Because these are some of these things that I find a lot of people overlooking because there's so much going on in the news now. And I'm not saying I'm the best at what I do. Let's just clear that up right now. Never would I say I'm the best at what I do, but I try to find the things that I don't think you're really paying attention to for me to give it to you. That's just what I do. And when I seen this, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Because John Bolton's been involved in the political atmosphere for a long time. And it's people like him, they call him a hawk, some kind of a hawk. I don't know what the word is. Political hawk, something like that. But it has to make you think. What are these people's true intentions that are in these politics that they call these hawks? That we feel that we want to go into these other countries and impose our will against their government and overthrow their government. But then the same thing happens here on this soil and we say, nah, it wasn't a coup attempt. It wasn't planned well enough. Huh? Because it wasn't planned well enough, it wasn't a coup attempt. That's how you differentiate a coup and not a coup. But in spite of all these things that are being exposed by the January 6th committee, we got to be careful because the House Republicans are looking for revenge because of this investigation. House Republicans are plotting revenge on the select committee investigating January 6th insurrection as the GOP weighs a broader effort to really relitigate some of Donald Trump's biggest election grievances if it recaptures the House majority. This is what I was talking about earlier about the voting. The former president has been itching for payback and leaning heavily on his Capitol Hill allies to defend him against a recent slew of damaging revelations about his role in the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol. Now, as Republicans search for ways to undermine those findings, their party has started to lay the groundwork to investigate the select committee itself. Republicans have already asked the January 6th panel to preserve a broad range of documents in its possession, a signal they're preparing to force those records to be turned over should they wield powerful committee gavels next year. And privately, Republican sources say there have been discussions about subpoenaing members of the select committee, particularly Liz Cheney of Wyoming, who is fighting an uphill battle for re-election, and retiring Rep. Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, if both Republicans are private citizens next year. So this has nothing to do with trying to change or fix the problems that are going on in the United States of America for you, me, and everybody else. This strictly has to do with the fact of if y'all going to go after the former president who was a Republican because of what he did on January 6th, like he did for the call to Zelensky and the Russian, the Russia coordination and all these impeachments you've been doing, we coming after you after this. We're going to get all the evidence you gathered up and we're going to flip it on you because the American people want to know exactly what's going on. Don't get me wrong. I'm good with that. But to do it as revenge tells me that you know the facts are there. What you're doing is you're trying to plant those seeds of doubt into people's minds. There's been nothing said in this committee hearings to this point that have been debated or whether they're factual or not. There has been nobody on any of these shows, there's been nobody on any of these articles I've read that has come out and said that anything that has been said or anything that has been presented is not factual. Until I hear somebody come out and say I was there and that's not what happened, which we have not heard from any of those people. Why? Because they don't want to go and sit down under oath and tell what they know. Until we get them to sit down and say, no, that didn't happen. This happened. What I know to be true is what I'm hearing. You can take it for what it's worth. But at the end of the day, anytime somebody says something about me or something comes to me about what I am or who I am or what I said or anything like that, I have to sit back for a minute and think, was I there? Did I do that? Oh, they got the story wrong. Not that you had to defend yourself to everything that is said about you, but in this situation, something that affects our political process, something that deals with the democratic policies, the democracy of this country that you so wholeheartedly want to defend, and you can't come out and say whether these things are lies, and you can't debunk anything that has been said up to this point, tells me that everything we've heard up to this point has been factual because there's been nobody that has sat down under oath that has been able to debunk anything that has been said up to this point. All they do is go on their pundit shows and say, well, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that, but they won't say it under oath of exactly what happened and what they know to be fact and what they know to be fiction. That should tell you everything you need to know right there. Because if you've been subpoenaed to come and sit in front of the committee and tell your side of the story, and you keep going to lawyer after lawyer after lawyer trying to fight the subpoena so you don't have to testify under oath, that tells me that there's something that you really don't want to talk about. Right, wrong, or indifferent. So is it the will of the people or the will of the power? The will of the people or the will for power? That's what it comes down to. Until you can tell me that these people are going to sit back, these Republicans that want this revenge or anything, where are they at as far as testifying what they know to be true? You had people, and I talked about it last week, I think, that sit as representatives in the Congress and the Senate. They were in a meeting planning what was going to happen on January 6th. And all of them have been subpoenaed, but none of them have come forward. But they all asked for a pardon. None want to testify in front of the committee, but they all asked the former president for a pardon. What does that tell you? What else do you need to know? You'll ask the president to pardon you from any crimes you may have done or could have done or what might have done all the way back whenever, but you can't sit in front of the committee under oath to tell them what you know to be true. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Yeah, Michael Flynn, as I mentioned, he sat up there and pleaded the fifth over and over and over again. Don't ask a question you don't want to know the truth about. And then we transition into this. The Secret Service. There's a report that the Secret Service was asked to provide text messages from their devices from January 5th and January 6th, the day before and the day of the attack, to the committee, so the committee could look at it and see exactly what type of things the Secret Service was doing, the protection and all these type of things, why Mike Pence didn't feel safe getting into the car for them to take him from the Capitol to take him somewhere else. All these things are what the committee is trying to get to the bottom of. So they asked the Secret Service for text messages. They asked them that they want this information so they can look and see what's going on. Jermaine's truth shall set you free or put behind bars. It's that simple. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You know, we all played Monopoly before. It's that simple. But the Secret Service that they asked all this information from, all of a sudden, all their messages were erased because of a migration of the systems for the phones. So all the information they had for January 4th, 5th, and 6th has been erased because of their migration over to a new system, is what they're saying, as part of a device replacement program. And this goes into what they tried to accuse, or what they did accuse Hillary Clinton of on the server, that they cleaned out the server for any information that was on the server. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So the Secret Service now has been subpoenaed. I found this out last night, right before I laid down to go to sleep. See, I'll be working for y'all, trying to get y'all this information. The House Select Committee investigating January 6th has issued a subpoena to the U.S. Secret Service, making the first time the panel has publicly done so for an executive branch or agency. Representative Benny Thompson, I like that brother. There's something about him. He's slow and steady. Got that country drawl. Before I get in this, Ethan Johnson, Deputy Chief of Staff, was former Secret Service. This was an inside job. In the real world, the RICO Act could be brought up. Exactly. There's a lot of, I don't know a lot about the RICO Act, but there's a lot of things within the government that you can and cannot do. When you start erasing things or deleting things and all that kind of stuff, and they can come back and investigate, and you can be held accountable because it's not your property. It belongs to the government. Once you get to typing on it, that's not yours no more. That's the government's. And the government can hold you accountable for deleting that stuff if they want to, depending on what it is. Let's get back to Representative Benny Thompson. Like I said, I love that brother. I love him. Great and everything. He wrote in a letter Friday to Secret Service Director James Murray that the panel is seeking Secret Service text messages from January 5th and 6th, and reiterated three previous requests for information by the Congressional Committee. And this is what it says. The Select Committee has been informed that the United States Secret Service erased text messages from January 5th and January 6th. As a part in 2021 now. as part of a device replacement program. In a statement issued July 14th, 2022, the United States Secret Service stated that it began to reset its mobile phones to factory settings as part of a pre-planned 3-month system migration. In that process, data resident on some phones was lost. However, according to that United States Secret Service statement, none of the text its the Office of Inspector General was seeking had been lost in the migration. That's what they said initially. None of the text messages that the committee was seeking were lost in the migration. Now they're saying they were lost. Accordingly, the select committee seeks the relevant text messages as well as any after-action reports that have been issued in any and all divisions of the United States Secret Service pertaining to or relating in any way to the events of January 6th of 2021. Now, we all text. We all send text messages out to different people over and over again. And we've seen subpoenas where they want to go and get phone records from certain people. I think John Eastman, the lawyer for Trump, that planned this whole electors thing. They took his phone and got information off of it and everything. And he was trying to fight it, all this kind of stuff. But when we're texting, when we're doing things on our phone, because we get so comfortable with our phones, but the texting and the ability to do that, a lot of people like to text more than they like to call. You leave a trail. I call it a trail breadcrumbs. You've heard it before. We use it with the GPS systems and when we're doing transportation things like that, but it's breadcrumbs. It shows you what's been going on. All you got to do is follow the crumbs, is what I say. For the United States Secret Service to all of a sudden lose all these text messages from January 5th and 6th during this migration, to me, is asinine. And I'm going to tell you why. From what I know to be true, somebody can debunk it if they want. When an organization as large as the United States Secret Service, the federal government, when you decide to do a migration like that, you decide to clear everything out and do factory restarts on things and everything, there's one thing that wasn't mentioned in this that we all know to be true, because you do it at your home computer, you do it on your phone, a backup. Somewhere, somehow, they backed all that stuff up before they did that migration. Call it what you want. I'm not an IT guy, but I know from my experience and the jobs I've had, anytime there's going to be any type of migration, anytime they're going to redo or reconfigure, landlines or any of that kind of stuff, in any organization, government being as big, mom and pop stores being small, one of the first things that people will tell you, even with your phone, when you go get a new phone and you're transferring over from an old phone, they tell you what will be able to transfer and what you need to save. Whether you're saving in the cloud, whether you're saving on a hard drive, wherever you're going to save it, they tell you to save it before they do what they're going to do. You can't tell me, and somebody will truly have to convince me, that they didn't back all this stuff up before they did what they did. Because here's the thing, knowing what I know, anytime you're going to change something over, as well as IT is now, as well as the systems are, things don't get pulled over like they're supposed to. There's hiccups in systems where everything that you want to move don't move. The way you handle that is you back everything up somewhere else to have a backup plan before you move all the stuff that you want to move. Now, like I said, I'm not an IT guy, but I know the processes that I've had to go through in my time and in my career. So you can't tell me that the Secret Service didn't do a backup before they did this migration. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem truthful, and it doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm looking at it differently. Chime in if you want, but I'm going to say There's no way you can tell me an organization that large, Secret Service, a lot of people, and they're trying to migrate these phone systems, the handhelds, because they all read off the VPN network or whatever they run off of. When you migrate that, something's being saved somewhere. So for them to say they don't have it anymore, it was all erased. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. Like I said, I'm not an IT guy, but I know what I've had to do in my past. Doesn't sit well. Doesn't seem right. Fake Jackson, stop telling on us. Hush. Laugh out loud. You're so right. Been saying the same thing. It just, anybody that's ever worked in any big corporation, down to anybody who's decided to get a new phone, you back stuff up. You don't do anything on your computer unless you back it up. If backing up things weren't so important, they would have never came out with the iCloud, Google Clouds. None of these clouds will be necessary because what they want you to do is pay for it, but at the same time, it's stored. And they say in the cloud. They say cloud. I was looking in the sky when they first came out. But you can't tell me this stuff ain't around. It just shows you the extent of what goes on, that we really don't know about. And the only reason we know about this now is because of an investigation of some other things that led them to ask these questions. Yeah, back up your computers. And here's the thing. I'm gonna just say this before we transition. Do your backups. Personally. Do your personal backups and everything like that. But if there's anything that you don't want nobody to see when you may leave this earth, when you may leave this earth that you don't want nobody to see, take it off that hard drive. I'm just saying. I'm not saying you need to hide nothing. But there's certain things that people may have that they don't want other people to see and everything. That take it off there. Because once it's saved there, it's saved there. Unless you go back and delete it. And you can protect it. There's ways. Everybody knows how to use computers by now. There's ways you can protect it and all that. You can put a code on it. I'm not going to give you all the insight on all that because you shouldn't be hiding nothing. All I'm saying is delete what you don't want, save what you do want, and keep it that way. But I know for government, they save and keep everything for historical records. Just saying. Yeah. Let's go and get into this. Mind, body, and soul. It's the year 2022. We're taking it 1,440 minutes, 1,440 moments per day. That's what you get in a 24-hour day. You get 1,440 moments. Make them count. Make them mean something. Make those memories count. Today's quote comes from Herbert Prochnow. And the quote goes as such. A well-balanced person is one who finds both sides of an issue laughable. A well-balanced person is one who finds both sides of an issue laughable. You know how I always say on here many times, I'll say you got to laugh to keep from crying. Sometimes that's where that, being able to laugh at both sides of the issue, looking at both sides and finding what's funny about it. Because when we take things too seriously, like with the show, we talk about the politics, we talk about what's going on in the world. And as I mentioned last week, that balance, we can get too caught up in these things where we forget to laugh. We take things so serious that we always walking around with that, what they call that that in the middle of your eyes, with all them wrinkles up in there. And then, you're sitting, you forget to laugh. You ain't showing your teeth no more, all that. But you have to have that balance and look at things. When I talk about what's going on in the insurrection, what's going on with everything that's going on in the world, you have to ask yourself, how serious should I be looking at this? And how much do I need to laugh at the thought of what's going on? One of the things I try to do is look at both sides. I tell you everything that the government, which is going on with this, what was wrong about the insurrection and everything like that. But I also laugh about it because when we talked about John Bolton, I keep saying Michael Bolton, I'm sorry. When we talk about John Bolton in this sense, he sat there and told you everything you need to know about a coup, what we've done, where we tried, all these type of things, and why this on the Capitol wasn't a coup. Now, as serious as that is of knowing that the United States has done coups in different countries under his leadership at times, and he felt that this coup or what happened on January 6th was not a coup because it was not well thought out and everything, is serious, but laughable at the same time. It's serious because now you had to think of something I said before. Was this a trial run? Was this something that was a trial to make us think, wait a minute, we didn't get it right, but next time we're going to have it all together, which usually happens. But then you had to laugh about it because you got somebody like John Bolton who thinks he's being, he's more educated than you. He knows more than you because he's been in the political system and he's smarter than you. But he's so smart that he was dumb enough to tell you what he's done in the past that is not by the United States principles of what we're supposed to stand for. And I say all that in that aspect to put it in this aspect of your life. Sometimes when people are talking, like I talked about with Leslie Jones in the beginning, where she made a statement and Jason Whitlock and another woman sat there and never concentrated on the fact of what she said. They concentrated on the fact of how she looks and how they feel about her and her looks, that she's not a funny comedian and all these different things. But they never pinpointed down on why they disagree with what she said. See, that's where it becomes laughable. Is because as serious as what she said may have been wrong, right, indifferent, or how they felt about it, none of the concentration was on that. The concentration was mainly on who she is as a person from their view, what she looks like from their view. To me, Leslie Jones is a beautiful sister. She's a natural sister. But I have to laugh at those people that look at her and call her ugly because she's beautiful in her own way. She's beautiful in how she carries herself because as much as she's heard probably in her life that she's not an attractive young lady, which people have made that opinion, I'm sure. Her spirit is beautiful. Her giving is beautiful. That's why you have to laugh at these people. When people talk about you and who they think you are and how they judge you because of how you look or how you carry yourself or the decisions you made and things like that, you take it in. And this is just me talking to you now. Take that in. Process it. What you think to be true, that is something maybe you need to work on, make the change. But those things that don't really matter to you, laugh them off. Why hold on to something that someone chooses to judge you by as being true? You know you better than anybody else. You know you better than anybody else. So as much truth as there is of what they may say, some of it needs to be laughed off because you also have to understand who the messenger is and what the message is about. When you decide to talk about something, you decide to put your opinion out about something, and people attack your character more than they attack what you had to say, that tells you you must have some truth in what you're talking about. But at the same time, those criticisms that come in, don't just blow them off, process them. I'm not telling you to take them to heart, but process them. Because there's something somebody said the other day, and they said, there's three people that'll tell you the truth. And I can only remember two: a drunk, a child, and I can't remember who the third one was. A drunk and a child are two of the main people that will tell you the truth about yourself if you receive the message that they're giving. A well balanced person is one who finds both sides of an issue laughable. Find both sides of that criticism coming towards you as being laughable. You have to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. Don't take everything people say about you to heart. Process it. Understand that there's some truth to what some people say. Some people like to embellish. I'm not going to say they lie. I'm going to say they embellish on the truth about who they feel you are. Listen, pay attention, process it, change what you can, laugh off the rest. Don't hold that in. Don't hold it in. It ain't worth it. Because at the end of the day, you got to think about who has your best interest at hand as well. Some people out here just don't like you. Some people that you call friends don't like you. Oh, I said it. Some people that you call friends that are in your circles can't stand your, and you know who they are. You know exactly who they are. And the reason you choose to hold on to those people is because a lot of times we don't cut them loose. Because if we, they say keep your enemies close to you. That's not why you keep them close to you. You keep them close to you because you know who they are. You know what they're about. And as long as you can keep them in your life, you feel like you're protecting you. But what you're really doing is you're hiding yourself. You're hiding. And what you're hiding is the fact that you know your flaws. That person's know your flaws. But what you don't want that person to do is go out and put your flaws truly out there because y'all don't talk no more. Sometimes you got to let go of that fat that you holding on to. Stop holding on to people that don't have your best interest at hand. You know they don't like you. Hell, you knew they didn't like you when you first started hanging with them, but you chose to stay hanging with them. Why? Only you can answer that. What they can do for you, what they know about you, what you don't want them to tell about you, man, let that go. At the end of the day, if them people aren't for you, then they're against you. And if they're against you and you continue having them in your life, it may not happen today while they're in your life, but eventually they're going to turn on you. And the longer they stay, the worse it can be. Cut them loose today. And you don't have to be vulgar and you don't have to just, I ain't dealing with you no more or whatever. Let it grind. It'll fade off. It'll fade off. People that you don't want in your life, if you stop giving them the attention that they want or the attention they feel they need, it'll go from them being here every day to eventually it'll fade out of your picture. And in that fading process, there's no anger. There's none of that going on. It's just the fact that you've outgrown them folk. But you have to know when to cut them off. Sometimes we hold on to people too long. And I know I went a little bit different on that, but sometimes we hold on to people a little bit too long. And by holding on too long, we put ourselves in a situation where then we got to start defending ourselves about things that have been said about us. And the reason we feel we got to defend ourselves is because we call that person a friend. We would defend ourselves against something that we thought a friend said about us more than a stranger because we feel that friend would never do that to us. Friends and family. Sometimes friends and family are the worst enemies you can have. Choose wisely who your friends are and choose wisely how you deal with your family. Let's go and wrap this up because I'm gonna get a little long-winded on that. I appreciate everybody tuning in. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'll be gone for 2 weeks, 2 Saturdays, and we won't be on. So you can go back and listen to all the other shows on YouTube. They're also on Facebook. Go back. Also on Spreaker.com and on Apple iTunes for the audio on both of those. You can download. Apple iTunes is on Speak on the Show. Spreaker is just RW Cool. You can go there and follow up. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate the support. Continue listening. Continue following what's going on with this January 6th committee. Next week is supposed to be the last hearing, prime time as well. But they're going to be putting some other things out there. So I'm going to be giving you the information I can. We got to pay attention. I do this because we need to be aware. We don't need to be consumed, but we need to be aware of what's going on. Continue to listen in. I'm going to try to give you as much information as I can, but we're transitioning. Oh, we're going to be transitioning. We got the 10-year anniversary coming up in September. 10-year anniversary show. 10 years on the air for RW Coolins and the Speak on the Show come September. We're going to have a big show for you. What it's going to entail yet, I don't know, but I got my boy OT is going to be hosting the show. I already talked to him about it. He's the one that put me on. So OT is going to be hosting the show that day. What we're going to do, I have no idea. I'm going to leave it up to him and let him do it. But it's 10 years in the making, baby. 10 years for the Speak on the Show come September. I'm excited. And we're going to be doing some transitioning from all this politics things into other things. I'm still concentrating on because of January 6th committee. But as we go, come around September, we're going to be changing up some things. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in and doing what you always do. Kamiko Soul King, have a good weekend. You do the same thing, darling. I seen your message. Appreciate y'all. And as I always say before wait a minute. Sharice Joseph, thank you for always informing us. I try my best. I'm trying, as long as you get something. I used to say this when I first started the show, and I haven't said it in a long time. And I say it this way. You know, when you go to church, the pastor says you're going to have an altar call. Can I get one? And I'm not saying I'm a pastor. I'm just using this example. Can I just get one? And I've always said this in the beginning. I stopped saying it, but it's true. And I always feel this way. If I can get one person who listened to the show this morning to think differently than they did when they turned the show on, from what they were thinking before they turned the show on, then I'm doing my job. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm giving you information. And it's not to change your mind, it's to give you a different aspect and a different mindset of what's going on around you. That's what I aim to do. That's what I continue to do. And that's what I'll continue to do. I appreciate you, Sharice, putting that out there. Maybe think about something. I appreciate that. But as I always say, before I sign off, oh man, I'm all messed up on here. Love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, why is my thing going? Keep your faith in God. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I'll see y'all in about 2 weeks. Unless I do the show on Friday, I'll let y'all know. Be looking out for the page. I appreciate y'all, and I'm out. Holla at me. Peace.